Hey everyone, so for today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my Sephora Spring Savings Event recommendations. These are all the products that I really love. These are a lot of more standby products for me, especially because there's so many new things coming out. Whenever that happens, I tend to go back to those tried and true recommendations and products that I have tested for a really long... There's a fly in the room. If you know me, that is my pet peeve. Anyway, so I'm going to focus on those kind of recommendations for this video, but I'm also going to share with you guys my own wish list, my basket, and the products that I'm going to be picking up. So for the first half, let's talk about my recommendations for you guys. I want to first start off with a product that I'm wearing on my skin today. It is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Radiant Lifting Foundation. Not only do I recommend the Radiant Lifting, I also recommend the original, the Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing. I've actually done an entire video comparing these two foundations, but I always go back to this foundation recommendation because one, I love when you can get it on sale because it is a little bit more expensive. I think it's around $48, but two, I really think that it's one of the best formulas on the market. So the beautiful thing about the Synchro Skin line is that it refreshes itself as you continue to wear it. So you don't really have to worry about the product breaking up on your skin. You don't have to worry about these foundations looking heavy on your skin. They actually have a very creamy, natural look to them, a very soft blur. It's not like an airbrush foundation. It's a little bit more natural than that. There are just so many different skin types that I think would really enjoy these foundations. So I'm wearing the Radiant today. I love that it's a very soft radiance. It's not really dewy because sometimes I don't want a foundation that's super dewy. I think that this is really balanced. I like that it just adds a little bit of glow, but again, it's not overwhelming. Products still blend really nicely on top of it as well, and they both have a medium coverage. Honestly, on my skin, if I use a more dewy primer with the original Synchro Skin, I can get a pretty similar look to this. So I don't think purchasing both is necessary. So if you already have one, I don't think you would necessarily need to pick up another. But I will say that my skin has been a little bit more on the dry side recently. As the seasons start to change, my skin can kind of get a little bit more dry. So I've really been loving the Radiant Lifting, and I think it's going to be really beautiful for later this spring and into the summer because this still wears really nicely. It doesn't just look good for a couple of hours and then the wear is messy after that. But I also have dry skin and adore the original, and I know so many different skin types that have also enjoyed this one. So that's why I go back to this recommendation, because it definitely feels like a crowd pleaser kind of product, and it's also one of my holy grails. Another foundation that I absolutely I really don't want this video to become me versus the fly, but it might be me versus the fly. Another foundation that I absolutely adore is the Makeup Forever Reboot foundation. So this is one of those products that I'm just like, I wish that I tried it way earlier than I did. I actually have a kind of best of no makeup products video coming up very soon, and this is definitely one that I'm going to be featuring in that video because this to me is just my kind of perfect light coverage foundation formula. It's very thin and super fluid, so I like to apply it with fingers and then go in with more of a dry sponge. But this just kind of melts down into the skin and really sinks in, but it doesn't look drying or too thin on the skin. I find that it almost gives a very soft blur, which is really not something I was expecting from this formulation. Not heavy, it's still very thin on the skin, and I actually find that this gives you an elevated skin-like finish. There is that soft blurring effect that I think is what makes this different than your typical skin tint light coverage product. You can build this up and it's not going to look really heavy, but you know, this is never going going to give you full coverage. This is way more on the light to sheer side, but it will just make the quality of your skin look better. There's a very soft radiance to it. Again, it's not a really heavy, dewy looking product. It's just a very soft, refined, slightly blurred look. It's really an absolutely stunning formula, and I will continue to recommend it. And for my next recommendation, this is my Holy Grail concealer. A lot of you guys have already heard me talk about it over and over again on my channel, but I think it's finally actually replaced my Maybelline Fit Me, which is a product that I've loved for years, and I've always called it my Holy Grail, but I think that this is finally what I feel is an even better formula for me, and it is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. So I have two different shades here. I have the shade 1 and the shade 1.5C. 1.5C is a little bit more peachy, and the one shade is a little bit more yellow. I can really use either one. I just find that this concealer is like everything that I've ever been looking for. I talk about this, how I have this kind of hollowness under my eyes, and sometimes I can use a concealer and the darkness goes away, but the hollowness becomes even more apparent. And what I've found is that I'm not looking for a concealer that completely looks like I have no darkness under my eyes. I'm really looking for a concealer that can kind of flatten out the area and brighten up the area and reflect back light in a way that doesn't make my eyes look more sunken than they already are. And this concealer does that for me. Beautiful medium coverage, a natural finish. It looks really hydrating under the eyes. It's more of a creamy liquid concealer, and I just find that it looks really flattering under my eyes. It has caffeine in it as well, which I actually have noticed that it has a little bit of a flattening effect when it goes under the eyes. You know, it kind of depuffs the area a little bit, which I absolutely adore. And it also does set down a touch. It's not going to set down to like a matte finish, but I do think that that kind of self-setting quality does help this last a little bit longer. If you've not tried it and you have similar preferences when it comes to base products, this is a concealer that I will be recommending over and over and over again till the cows come home. Geez, I have so many products to talk about. I'm just gonna try and run through a lot of them. So let's talk about the products that are on my eyes today. That kind of glittery, wet looking shimmer that I have on my eyes is Natasha Denona. It's the Chroma Crystal Top Coat in the shade Peach. So this has been a product that I've recommended on my channel for a very long time, and it is because it's an incredibly wet looking shimmer. But this formula isn't just your classic run-of-the-mill shimmer formula. It actually feels wet in the finger and very, very thin. And they call it a top coat because this doesn't have a really heavy base pigment to it. It has a very, very light peach base pigment with all of these reflective shimmers throughout that when they reflect back, they literally look wet. And they really melt down onto the lid and just offer just a beautiful shine. I really love this product for the spring and the summer because I just find that it adds such a beautiful light reflection quality. Again, the base pigment is very light, so it's easy to work with. You don't have to worry about a heavier base pigment that you need to really blend into other products. This to me is like swipe it on the lid and be done. It's really absolutely gorgeous, and I always recommend this one for those of you that really like that wet looking shimmer for the eyes. What I love pairing with a product like this, you know, a really, really wet looking shimmer product like this, especially with that kind of emollient base that this has, it's not going to last a really, really long time. But this is what I always recommend you guys do. It is go in with a liquid shadow into the crease, and this is what is going to extend the wear of all of your cream shadows and make them last a lot longer and look better throughout the day. So this one from Smashbox is really, really incredible. It's the Always On Cream Shadow. I'm wearing the shade Amber, and that's what's on my lid up to my brows. This is just an incredible liquid cream shadow. It's completely matte. All of the shades are matte, I believe. They have an excellent shade range for all kinds of looks. And what I just find really useful about having a shadow product like this on hand is that if you can find the right shade to just put into the crease, every other shadow that you put on top is going to last a lot longer. Personally, I prefer to use this method than using an eye base or, you know, a primer product on the lids, because if you just use this sets in the crease, it'll last a lot longer, and that primer is not going to affect the color or the actual texture of the shadow whatsoever. So you can still get that really wet look, but it's going to last longer with something like this. And this on its own as like a one and done is also really beautiful as well. This texture is thin and buildable. It's not going to crackle off. It's not going to kind of suck the moisture out of your lids either, which I think some liquid shadows can do. Really an excellent product, and I hope that more people try these. Really an excellent product, and I hope that more people try out this formula. Charlotte Tilbury, Eyes to Mesmerize, Oyster Pearl. This is by far my favorite cream shadow ever. For me, this shade in combination with the formula makes for just a perfect one and done shadow. It has a little bit more of that moussey, creamy texture. I know I talk a lot about this product on my channel, but I just feel like once it's applied to the lids, it reflects back so much light. It looks so creamy, but it also has a very effortlessness to it. Not only in the way that it looks, but also the way that it applies. Because it has a little bit more creaminess to it, it's really easy to work with. It looks flattering on the lids. It's not going to look really drying. There's no visible shimmers in here either, so it's just like true reflection. And this color in and of itself is beautiful. Again, Oyster Pearl. For me, it's right here. It just has such an incredible light reflection quality to it. It has that kind of pewtery shift to it, but when you blend it out into the crease or even just put your finger and tap it on the lids, it's cool tone but also a little bit warm. Like the balance within the shade itself is very, very unique. Seriously perfection for me, and if I don't know what to apply to my lids, I'm always going towards this. I love those products where you're like, I don't know what to do with an eye look, with a foundation or whatever. Those products that look good every single time, that make you look put together, that are easy to work with, those are those products that I'm always reaching for, and this is certainly one that I always go back to. I mean, look at that. Like, it's just incredible. Let's talk about a cheek product that I recommend. So this is another favorite that I've talked about before. It is the Patrick Todd Double Take Blush, and it's what I'm wearing on my cheeks today. This is the shade Do We Know Her? And the reason I wanted to recommend this one again is that this is one of those 2-for-1 products that I think is just a really good bang for your buck. You get both a powder and a cream in here, but they also work really well together. And that's kind of the way that the brand envisioned you using it. And it's the way that I typically use it, but I really like that there's a little bit of versatility here. The actual powder is very, very smooth, super finely milled, and I can tell that there's kind of a blurring quality to it. There's definitely a little bit of silicone in here, but for me, some silicone-based powders can look heavy on my skin for some reason. This one does not. It looks really soft on the skin. So I like that if you want to go with just a powder look, you can just use the powder and then dabble in the cream as well. And you can also just use the cream on its own too. This formula for the cream is incredibly smooth and thin, but it's not one of those creams that it's going to pick back up on itself. It's not going to move the powder under it. They kind of just melt down into each other and create a new formula. Really, really innovative stuff here, you guys. And I have tried the Shiseido LA shade. That's kind of the more bronze shade, and I didn't like it as much. I didn't think that it blended as well as this shade. So if you're looking for that pretty kind of coral pop kind of blush, I highly recommend this. And we will be talking about the cream bronzers that Patrick Todd came out with later in the video as well. As for a cream highlight, I wanted to go back and recommend the Pillow Talk Beauty Light Wand. So this is the Pillow Talk shade, obviously. It's the one that I'm wearing on my cheeks today. This is a really beautiful kind of rose gold shade. I also love the classic. This one is in the shade Spotlight. I think Spotlight will give you an ultra reflective look. Pillow Talk is a little bit more subdued. I personally though love both. So the beautiful thing about this formula, and the reason I always go back to it, the reason I always recommend it, is that with highlights, you know, sometimes it's too natural and sometimes it's way too much, and I'm always looking for that product that leans somewhere in the middle. I don't want it to pick up any of my other products. I want it to last a little bit longer because some of them, you know, an hour in you can't see it anymore. This is a really perfect formula for those of you that want a creamy look, a more natural looking highlight, but you want it amped up just a little bit without sacrificing the actual texture of your skin, the look of your skin. This one does set down a little bit, so it's going to last a little bit longer as well. The formula is a little bit thinner, so it gets along with other products a lot easier. I would definitely recommend either. If you want a little bit more highlight, I would go with the Spotlight shade, but Pillow Talk is really, really pretty for just everyday looks. No visible shimmer at all, by the way. It's that really just high shine finish. Another recommendation are the Danessa Myricks Color Fixes. I talk a lot about the Color Fix formula on my channel, so I'm not going to stick here for too long. Although I will say that a lot of these products you guys have probably heard about, but the Color Fixes are really, really an incredible long wear product. There are 3 different finishes. You can try out the mattes, you can try out the foils or the metallics. All of them are obviously going to give you a little bit of a different look, but these can be used on the eyes, on the cheeks, on the lips, of course, kind of depending on what shade you get. I've been trying out the foils, and I think the foils are really incredible if you're into playing with different like metallic glittery textures on the lids, because you can use these and not need a primer at all. The Color Fix formula is incredibly long wearing. The Milky Way is just like a straight liquid glitter shade, and it's been really fun to play with this one. And Rocket is a little bit creamier than Milky Way. Using these together just gives you like an incredible, insane glittery finish. I think Celebration is still my favorite because this is just a perfect one and done chestnut brown with just a very soft shift to it. Will literally look beautiful on everyone. The matte formula is also really beautiful if you were again looking for more of a long wear cream shadow. You can also use them on the cheeks as well. Really long wear makeup that we're talking about here. And I wanted to start setting you guys up with some recommendations that are going to last a little bit longer, especially with, you know, summer right around the corner. I want to talk about some tools really quickly as well. I get a lot of questions about the tools that I use to apply cream shadows. For my cream blushes, I usually just use a sponge, or I will use the e.l.f. stipple brush. That's a lot cheaper than the products that we're talking about today, but I highly recommend that blush brush. But as for brushes, the Rare Beauty liquid shadow brush and the Pro Shadow 18 brush from Sephora, these are my 2 absolute favorite cream shadow brushes. Pro 18 is incredible for detail work. It's a slightly fluffier version of like a pencil brush, I would say. You can still use it all over the lid. It's not going to take a really long time to get a nice blend, but it just blends cream shadows seamlessly. I love that you can do detail work and you can kind of buff out the crease if you need to. I don't feel the need to go in with another brush when I'm using this. And I love with cream shadows how I can get a little bit more of a winged out effect when I use a brush like this. Just gives me a little bit more control. As for the Rare Beauty liquid shadow brush, this is actually made to mimic the finger. I really like applying products with fingers, but I know some of us can't do that. So this is what I would recommend you purchase because it will give you that same kind of payoff that you would get with a finger. It blends liquid shadows really beautifully. And you can also kind of take it on its side and get a little bit more of an angle. Really an incredible, beautiful brush. I feel like people don't talk enough about the Rare Beauty brushes, but I feel like these were a really good launch. They weren't just kind of an afterthought. A couple of lip products. I also have the Rare Beauty liquid lip balm in the shade Nearly Mauve. I absolutely adore this formula. If you're a fan of liquid lip balms and you want a little bit more of a plush kind of balm gel formula, this to me is so perfect for that. It really is that ultra cushiony formula. It feels hydrating on the lips, doesn't give you too much shine, it doesn't give you too much color. It's very everyday appropriate, And I love that there's a soft kind of translucence to it. I'm definitely partial to formulas like this. And the Nearly Mauve shade is my favorite, but I find that a lot of the shades are really pretty. And the lip product that I am wearing today is the Hyaluronic HappiKiss Lipstick Balm from Charlotte Tilbury. I have to tell you guys that this is like one of my favorite lip product finds of this year. It's really a beautiful, beautiful formula. For me, it sits somewhere between a lip balm and a kind of stick lip gloss and a lipstick. It's kind of like a hybrid product between all these different formulas. And I always find that hybrid lip formulas are the ones that I always reach for and the ones that I find I really enjoy. It's super lush. It's very balmy. It's not sticky, but you can see it gives a very even color, kind of fills in the lines of the lips a little bit as well. So if you want your lips to look a little bit bigger and have a little bit more volume, this is a really beautiful everyday kind of lip product that will do that. But it's also just not uncomfortable on the lips. It's hydrating, feels nourishing, but again, it has a little bit more of that kind of stick lip gloss lipstick hybrid texture that's very unique to me. The shades are very gorgeous as well. Like, I feel like I want every freaking color. The only thing that I don't like is that I feel like the packaging is a little bit cheap for the price. Whew. Okay, now pull up my phone. We're gonna talk about what is in my Sephora basket. This is my complete wish list and the products that I pretty much plan on getting. A lot of these products are a little bit newer. So the first product I would like to get is the Kaja Play Bento Cream Bronzer, Powder Blush, and Highlighter Sculpting Trio. Something I find really interesting is that it's a cream bronzer, a powder blush, and then a highlighter. I'm not sure what formula the highlight is. The highlighter is a powder as well, so I'm interested in seeing how the formulas kind of play together. I like that it's also small and compact, so it would be really nice for travel. Another product I really, really want to try are the Melt Cosmetics Cream Blush Lights. Everyone has been talking about these. Kaki really, really enjoys this, and I want to pick up the shade Polished. I really want to try out the formula and see what all the fuss is about. It looks really gorgeous, and it seems like the pigmentation is right where I want my cream blush to be as well. This is not going to be a surprise for a lot of you. This is a lot of cream blushes and bronzers. I also want to try out the NARS Sun-Kissed Bronzer Cream. I've been looking at this for the past couple of weeks. It was initially only available on Nordstrom, but now that it's at Sephora and it's going to be on sale, I definitely want to give it a go. I would love to try out a bronzing cream in this format that works for me. The one from Huda Beauty I did not enjoy. The one from Chanel I didn't enjoy. So hopefully this one works for me. I'm really looking for a fresh, even cream bronzed look. I don't want anything muddy. I don't want anything choppy. I'm very picky with cream bronzers. I'm also going to pick up the Major Sculpt Cream Contour and Powder Bronzer Duo from Patrick Ta because I'm a big fan of this product. I'm hoping that the formula is going to be similar. If it is, I feel like this could be an incredible product for the summer and a product that's going to last a long time. That's one of the reasons I really love this blush, is that because it's both a powder and a cream, I feel like it lasts longer on the skin. I'm also going to be picking up the Gen Nude Blonzer, which is a mix between a blush and a bronzer from Bare Minerals. My friend State of Kate really, really enjoyed this one, and I have been a huge fan of those bronzer blush shades for a very long time. I've been a huge fan of Dallas from Benefit. That's a product I used to love like 4 years ago because it could kind of work as a bronzer and a blush, especially if you have a little bit more fair skin. It just looks incredible. I feel like they kind of changed the formula and I stopped using it after that, but I'm going to get, I think, the deepest shade just to see how it works. I also want to pick up this Flushed blush from Sephora. It's their new cream blush and it's only $10. If this is a good formula, then I'm going to be really, really excited to share it with you guys. A lot of really, really pretty shades. And I'm also going to be picking up, why did I just sound Australian? Or English? I don't know why I sounded like that. I'm also going to pick up the Makeup Forever Water Tone Skin Perfecting Foundation. I want to see how similar it is to the Reboot because it sounds pretty freaking similar to the Reboot. It's a sheer skin tint that minimizes imperfections and adds hydration for up to 24 hours. That's a pretty similar description to the Reboot. Because I love the Reboot so much, I just want to see what the fuss is about with the water tone. Hopefully it's as good as the Reboot. I also want to pick up the Rare Beauty Liquid Touch Concealer Brush because I've been such a huge fan of the liquid shadow brush, which is where? Here. The Liquid Touch Concealer Brush is also said to have a little bit more of like a fingertip kind of application. So I feel like that would be perfect for concealer. I actually prefer to blend in concealer with my fingers, but a lot of the times I just go with a sponge because it's easier. But if it's a good brush, I think it's going to be a really, really awesome asset. And lastly, I think I'm going to pick up another shade of the HappiKiss Hyaluronic Lipstick Balms. They have Happy Petal, which is kind of like a tawny nude shade that I feel like could be really pretty. There's also Passion Kiss, which is kind of this soft brown. They have a peachy nude rose and a sheer pink as well. So I feel like I kind of want to venture out and get another shade as well. I hope that you guys really enjoyed today's video. If you did, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you like me, I would love for you to subscribe as well. Let me know down below what products you guys will be picking up during the sale, if any. Obviously, don't pick up anything if you don't think you need anything. I hope that you guys are having a good one, and I will see you in my next one.